And with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the one, the only, Mr. Steve Herzig. How are you, sir?
I'm not too good, Chris.
Why? No, you're good. You're good.
I'm not too good because when we were practicing, which, by the way, the students here have applauded amazing.
Amazing. Can we hear another applause?
Let's hear another one. Fantastic. Well, as you were explaining the Jew and the Gentile, he said, even though Steve is Jewish, even though, I got a question for you here, kids. Jesus Christ, what background did he come from? Who said that? All right, we got our first.
Oh, here we go, people.
Victor.
We've got
raise your hand. All right. If I didn't hit you,
we got candy.
You cannot open them because some of you have allergies. So you take them to your homeroom and let your teacher have that list. I don't want anybody eating it who's not supposed to.
So you're throwing candy to kids.
There's a hand, you get one. Look
you're
at
throwing
that.
candy to kids, and you don't know anything. You're just throwing it to them.
They look at them. They're ready to go.
All right.
They're ready to go.
All right, here's the deal. We have, hello, everybody. If you're just tuning in, we are King's Christian School. Hello, King's Christian.
All right,
there we go. Steve is throwing candy to the kids. All right, all right, go ahead, sit down. There'll be more candy. Listen, for our listeners, if you're just tuning in, we're at King's Christian.
They're going crazy at King's Christian.
That's right.
It's amazing what a little sugar will do.
That's exactly right. Well, today we're going to talk about, Steve, you brought your bag of tricks.
I did bring my bag of tricks.
And we're going to have people come up and put your bag of tricks on.
That's right.
All the important aspects of what it means to be Jewish.
That's right. We're going to ask the kids to pay attention because then we're going to ask them a few questions.
That's right.
And if they get the questions right, I got a bag here. I got some stuff in there.
Where'd you get all this candy from?
I talked to my wife.
Okay, there you go. That's good. All right, so why don't we go ahead, Steve, and get started. For our listeners, we have a great group here, and we're going to be talking about what it means to be Jewish and all of these amazing parts of being Jewish. I don't think we've ever done this on the podcast before.
We have not done it on the podcast.
So this is a great place. So what we really need is a volunteer. Okay, Steve, I'll let you pick.
No,
I'll let you pick.
No. You pick.
All right, I'm going to. All right, you right here. Come on up. What's your name? Sophia. All right, wait, Sophia, you got to come up and you have to come on up and you're going to sit right here at this microphone and we're going to have a chat, okay?
That's right.
We're going to have a nice little chat.
And while you're chatting with her, I will put on the stuff.
Okay,
and then
good.
Explain.
Hi, Sophia. Why don't you tell our listeners what grade you're in?
I'm in third grade.
Wow, third grade. Who's your teacher?
Miss Donaldson.
Okay, Miss Donaldson. Round of applause. I like it. Steve is dressing Sophia right now. Sophia, I love that name. That means you've got some wisdom. I like it. And Steve's adding some more wisdom to you. Sophia, what's your favorite class that you take? Or what's your favorite math, English? What are you doing right now? What's your favorite subject? Science. Okay, great. So you like science. What are you learning in science right now?
About the solar system.
Oh, very nice. The solar system. Now, is it weird that Mr. Herzig is putting all this stuff on you? You don't seem fazed at all by it.
I don't like this at all.
All right, Steve, why don't you go ahead and talk through some of the things that you're putting on Sophia right now?
Okay. Even though I'm Jewish.
Yes, even though you're Jewish.
Even though I'm Jewish, we have on Sophia here, first, the yarmulke. Yarmulke actually is a post-biblical book item. Jewish people do it because there's always somebody higher than themselves.
That's right.
And usually it's Jewish men that wear it, although in modern Judaism, there's numbers of women who do wear it.
Like Sophia.
Like Sophia.
There you go.
Doing it. In fact, at 13 years old, Sophia could be bat mitzvah. The boy is bar mitzvah. And you took Aramaic at Dallas.
Yep.
And Hebrew as well. And so bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah is son or daughter of the mitzvah.
Of the mitzvah, the commandments.
Exactly.
So that's right. So we're putting, Steve, as you're putting all of this amazing stuff on Sophia, what is this even? We're going to talk. Look, you're really counting it out, too. I like it.
It's got to be 7.
It's got to be 7. Okie dokie. Now, Sophia, Mr. Herzig is just wrapping. Oh, look at, and now it's just right. It goes around the finger.
That's right.
If you're just tuning in and you're listening, Steve is donning
Donning the tefillin.
Donning the
and
tefillin.
Making a Hebrew letter shin, which comes from the first word in the Deuteronomy chapter 6, which is the Shema.
Now, is this something Jesus would have done?
Jesus would have not had a yarmulke, but Jesus would have had a long robe, outer garment with tzitzis, fringes hanging from him. But we don't wear a long garment like that. And so instead, they call it the prayer shawl. And Chris, if
Go ahead, Sophia. Why don't you stand up so everyone can see you? Give it up for Sophia, everybody. Look at this.
You should take a picture of it.
I will
Chris.
do that. So, Steve, why don't you go ahead and why don't you keep standing, and why don't you explain all the elements there, Steve, for
Okay, so
the
first
chapel.
of all, we have as we said, the talit, which, by the way, if you look at the Israeli flag, it is the same thing, blue stripes with white, and then they have a Star of David. So that's the fringes will hang, the tzitzit, they're called. Now, you got to pay attention because I'm going to be asking questions later. The yarmulke, or kippah in Hebrew, is a reminder to Jewish people that God is higher than them. Don't be such a big shot. Don't make all your decisions on your own. Always remember that God is above you. And then the tefillin are a reminder of from Deuteronomy chapter 6, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love him with all your heart." Does anybody know that verse? Well, let's hear. Say it together. We shall love him.
Steve, just throwing candy. I love it.
They did good. They did great.
All right, there you go. Okay, Steve, this is hilarious. So, Steve,
What an amazing chapel.
okay, go ahead and sit down. Trust me,
You're
you'll all get candy.
Yeah,
You'll all get
remind
candy.
me to throw it this way.
Yeah, you'll go over there next. All right, Sophia, you have all. Go ahead and get in front of the mic there.
Get in front of the mic.
And why don't you tell us, what does it feel like to wear all these important Jewish elements? Because all of them, I love, they talk about God and what it means to worship God. You have the law on your head, on your hands. You're remembering to be under God. What does that feel like when you're wearing it?
I feel really good.
Interesting. You feel really good. Steve, so, when we see Jewish people wearing this, they're wearing it not just because they want to look that way. They're wearing it because they want to honor God.
This is an act of worship. It's our declaration of faith. We believe in one God. And so every morning we tell God how much we love him, and we dress to worship him. That's an interesting concept, to dress to worship him. Not everybody does that. Some people say, well, God will accept me the way I am. And that's true. But isn't it interesting if you're going to a special place, let's say you were going to a very fancy restaurant, or there was a wedding or some event, your parents said to you, hey, you're not wearing jeans to this. This is a special place. We're going to get dressed up in order to go to this particular thing. Well, Jewish people do that every time they worship God.
Now, does anybody know how many laws are in the Old Testament?
Go over
ahead.
there. Go over there.
Over here. How many laws? Go ahead, right there, buddy. You with the glasses on. Can you guess? Huh? That's right. There are 10 commandments, but there are even more laws. Go ahead, you back there. No, right there, the girl with the black hair, right there. 613. Oh my goodness, she nailed it. 613. That's exactly right. Now, I want you to see something. Hang on a minute. She nailed it. 613 laws are found in the law, the first 5 books of Moses, from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And you know what? Steve had put this prayer shawl on Sophia. Steve, maybe you want to talk about those fringes that are hanging there.
The fringes have knots, Chris, and the knots total 613. Each of, you could see well, I don't know if our cameras pick it up, but here are individual knots, and there has to be, in order to be a kosher, that's a new word.
Yeah.
Kosher means fit or proper or right. In order to be a usable talit, it has to have 613 knots.
And that's there to remind them of the 613 laws.
Which God gave to them, which they're thankful for because it comes from God. You know, when we started, before we recorded, the students were making a pledge to the Bible. That's an interesting pledge, and the Jewish people would agree. They would not hold to the New Testament, but the idea of God's Word is very important to them, especially a passage we're going to read today, because, Chris, we know what feast it is. Ask them on that side, because
what feast is it today? Yeah, front row right here, buddy.
Throw the teacher's candy.
Feast of... Anybody? All right, in the back over there. Anybody? Go ahead, buddy. You in the back. Feast of what? Anybody?
moment here. Feast of what?
Same it.
Feast of... I heard it. Throw it. There we go.
Give the teacher's candy.
All right, that's right. We're going to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. Who would like to come up and read our passage? All right, you come up. Yep, come on up. Sophia, thank you very much. You did a great job. All right, everyone, sit down, sit down, sit down. All right. All right, we have the Feast of Tabernacles that is going on. If you're just listening, come on in. You can come sit down. If you're just listening to the podcast and you hear all the screaming, that's because Steve, our Jewish sage, is throwing candy at kids, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. But here we go. Steve, you can find the passage for her. Hi, what's your name?
Dakota.
Hi, Dakota. You can go ahead and get close to the microphone. And Dakota, you're going to read 2 verses for us because Jewish people are celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. And I think the candy fits in perfect because we're celebrating. Jewish people are celebrating. So, Steve, why don't you tell her what verses to read for everybody?
We're going to be reading from Leviticus 23, starting in verse 42 and ending the chapter at verse 44.
All right, here's a great question, though.
But
when was the last time anybody's been in Leviticus? Anybody? Anybody? When's the last time? You guys have done your devotions in Leviticus? All right, I like it. Very good, Steve.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
All right, go ahead and you read that, Dakota.
Live in temporary shelters for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in such shelters, so you
Descendants.
will know that I have
The Israelites.
Lived in temporary shelters.
When I brought them.
When I brought them out of Egypt, I am the Lord your God. Moses announced to the Israelites that the opponent festivals of the Lord.
Unbelievable!
Great job. Give it up for Dakota, everybody. There you go. Good job, Dakota. All right. Now, I want you to hear, can you hear me in my Bible there, Stephen? I want you to hear what Dakota said, okay? Because Dakota read a really important...
She was amazing.
She did a great job.
Chris, when I was in elementary school, I couldn't even find words. I didn't even know what was going on.
You're still kind of like that a little bit,
That's
you know?
true. That's
Live
true.
in temporary shelters for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in such shelters so your descendants will know that I had the Israelites
She did better than you, Chris.
live in temporary shelters when I brought you out of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So right now, you know what Jewish people are doing? All around the world, they are building tents outside of their homes. Did anybody ever stay in a tent before? Yeah, you go camping? Well, you know what? God told the Israelites.
We hate camping.
I know. Jewish people don't like camping. Steve prefers hotels over tents.
Much better.
But God wants them to live in tents to do something, to remember. To remember because you know what? When God took the Israelites from Egypt and brought them into the wilderness, even though they wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, God provided for them. He provided shelter for them. He provided food for them. The shoes on their feet never wore out for 40 years. And so God says, I want you to go back into the tents. I want you to go back in to remember that I provided for you. And so Jewish people all around the world are building tents outside. And Steve, they're hanging good stuff from the roofs of the tents, aren't they?
Chris, it it is a festival of harvesting. Remember when we discussed on our podcast first fruits, and we discussed Shavuot, Pentecost, that's barley and then the wheat. But this is a harvest of pomegranates and figs and I'm trying to think of grapes. Yep, all kinds of different fruits.
Olives. Who likes olives?
Oh yeah, I love olives.
Who loves grapes? Oh, who loves figs? Anybody have figs before? Okay, let me ask you a question. Would you prefer to eat bread or would you prefer to eat grapes? See, good job. That's why, listen, hang on. That is the reason why. That's the reason why it's such a celebration, because God's provided all the bread and all the things that we need to live. But when we get to this festival, God's saying, I am with you, I am protecting you, I am guiding you, I am providing for you. And not only do I want to provide for you, I want to give you even a lot of sweet things in life as well. And so Jewish people are thanking God for the sweet things in life, like the grapes and the figs and the olives and all the great little add-ons that we put on our toast in the morning. But you know what's even more important as we think about the Feast of Tabernacles is that Jesus told us something, or John told us something important about Jesus in John 1:14. It says that the Word became flesh and he tabernacled. What feast are we in right now? The Feast of Good job. And Jesus said, I am coming and I am the Feast of Tabernacles. I am here for you. My presence is with you. I'm here to protect you and guide you and provide for you. Not only the things that you need to eat like bread, but even the abundant things in life, like all the sweet fun things. Here's Mr. Herzig throwing candy at you, okay? That's a great thing as we celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, because we remember even the sweet things that God has done for us.
Well, you know, Chris, as you just described what Jesus has done for us in John chapter 1, there is a future time for the nation of Israel and the Jewish people in which the wolf will lie down with the lamb, and weapons of war will be turned into instruments of peace, and there'll be no more war. That is, just as Tabernacles is the last of the 7 feasts, so it projects to us the kingdom of God on earth.
That's right.
And what a blessed time that's going to be. That's our hope. Our hope is this world is a temporary place the way it is. We enjoy what God has given to us. But in the future, God has something even better for us, where Jesus will be seated on the throne in Jerusalem. Tabernacles depicts that.
100%.
Now, before we continue on, Mrs. Flanagan, the principal of the school, had emailed me, or texted me, I should say, awesome prayer from one of King's amazing students, Nate Farrell, who really had a prayer to God about Israel and the Jewish people and the war that's going on in Israel with Gaza and Hezbollah and all that's going on in Lebanon. And so I'm excited to hear. Nate, can you share what you have to say, your prayer that you want to offer up to the Lord, and why that's so important to you?
My prayer to God is that Israel will actually be at peace.
Amen. You know what, Steve? That is a really great prayer, because
That's a biblical prayer.
a biblical prayer. That's right. Psalm 122, verse 6. Pray for the peace of anybody? Jerusalem. And so, buddy, your prayer is spot on. Thank you for sharing that so much. Take some candy.
Take some candy. Take a
Almost
cup.
left. But I think we need to get the principal who invited us here to come on up.
Absolutely.
Come on up.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Flanagan, come on up. Come on up. Give it up for Mrs. Flanagan. She created this mess here, so we're going to have her come on up. We've got plenty of candy for Miss Flanagan. So your students come and they do chapel. This is King's Christian School. Maybe you want to share with our listeners a little bit about what King's Christian's passion is, and you're the principal who gets to teach all these awesome, or be lead.
The principal. I've
The
been
principal.
I've been to the principal's office before.
That's right. We
Not
don't
a good thing.
No, not a good thing. But
This is a good thing.
This is 100%. So why don't you share about King's Christian and the heart that King's Christian has for kids?
So first of all, we've got some great students here at King's, right? Give it up, kids.
Yeah.
So they make my job very easy because they're so well behaved. They love Jesus. They love learning. And that's what we like to do here at King's. So we're definitely teaching these kids their academics. So they've got their reading, their math, their science, social studies, all that good stuff. But the most important subject we teach Bible every day. And so they're digging into the Word. They're learning more about God. On Thursdays, we have chapel. So we come together. We hear some message together. And it's a great time for everybody.
100%. Okay, so Steve, this has been a great episode.
Great episode.
But we have one more thing to do here. We have our Yiddish word of the day. And Steve, you and I were talking yesterday, and we were talking about the fact that we're going to be at a chapel for kids. It's going to be a great time. And the word that came to my mind was kinder, which is where we actually get the word for kindergarten.
That's right. Kinder, children.
Kinder's children. But there's a great Yiddish phrase that has kinder in it that you grew up with. And so maybe you want to share it.
Yep. My mother used to say when my father would have a mean streak or want to discipline us, my mother would say, "Luza the kinder, Nate. Luza the let the kids be, Nate. And love the kids, help them, let them alone, enjoy the kids."
Luza the kinder.
Luza the kinder. Let them
exactly
do what they want.
You did today. You know,
That's right. We Luza the kinder.
All these they were really well behaved too.
They were fantastic. They were loud when we wanted them to be loud. They stopped when we asked them to stop, and they kept saying, "Give us more candy."
They wanted the candy, Steve. They wanted the candy. So, well,
Do we need more candy?
Well, we're going to get the kids more candy. And as we do that, we're going to wrap up the Jew and Gentile podcast. I want to thank you for being a part of the Jew and Gentile podcast. Be sure to go to FOIEquip.org, and there you can find out how to get involved with the Friends of Israel. We got upcoming classes in November and December on Hanukkah and on Steve's 7 chapters. You're not going to want to miss that. Again, you can go to FOIEquip.org, and Steve's going to keep throwing candy to the kids, and we'll see you soon.